Good evening, everyone. Tonight's story is The Hatchet Man. There were warnings all over the campus about the Hatchet Man. He supposedly abused and killed a woman in Bloomington. All the girls were warned to walk in pairs and stay in brightly lit areas as they go out at night. The sophomore and her roommate were staying in an empty dorm room over Thanksgiving break. Since both their families were out of the country, they grew very bored as day followed by day and night followed by night. Tired of staying inside every night for fear of the Hatchet Man, her roommate suggested they go to dinner at the local bar, and the sophomore agreed. The two women had lingered longer than anticipated, and almost midnight, when the sophomore, more than a little drunk, decided to walk back to her dorm room. Her roommate was busy flirting with the bartender, so she headed into the dark, silent streets alone. The sophomore had forgotten all about the Hatchet Man warnings. It wasn't until she took a shortcut through a dark, creepy alley that she remembered that there was a desperate murderer on the loose. The sophomore shivered, feeling suddenly sober and even much more alone. She felt hostile eyes were peering at her out of every menacing shadow and darkening doorway. She quickened her pace. With the heavy breathing, her heart was pounding. She could hear footsteps behind her and hard breathing. Were those the footsteps and the hard breathing of the Hatchet Man? The sophomore broke into a run, her heart pounding fiercely, sure that it was someone following her. She darted onto the college campus, zigzagging through the building and flinging herself panting into the dorm. She pounded up the flights of stairs, down the hallway, and slammed into her room. It was only then, leaning against the door, with her heart pounding and racing, that she started to feel very foolish. There was no sound from the hallway, no footsteps, no heavy breathing, no Hatchet breaking through the doorway. She had been a fool. The sophomore staggered into her bedroom to wash up for the night. Having the door locked behind her, she kept glaring into the mirror to make sure that everything was secure. The scene in the mirror was horrifying, and there was no sound in the empty dorm room. Everything was just fine, she told herself. The sophomore curled up in bed with a reading lamp on. She was determined to wait up for her roommate, but the combination of heavy drinking and her early fright sent her to in a deep, deep sleep almost at once. She did not even awaken until the sun was pouring through the window early that next morning. She woke up with one hell of a hangover and rolled over trying not to be sick in bed. She realized that her roommate wasn't in her bed at all. In fact, she hadn't even slept in it. She rolled to her feet, heart pounding with dread. Maybe her roommate had spent the night in the lobby. Her roommate had done that before when they were out partying until the wee hours of the morning, saying it was too much trouble to climb the flight of stairs to the room. With trembling hands, the sophomore unlocked the door and wrenched it open in search of her roommate. Faintly metallic scent of blood smashed into her nostrils as the door swung open of the third floor hallway. She screamed, "Ah!" in terror, leaping backwards away from the partially decapitated body of her roommate, which lay dead at her feet. The nails on her outstretched hands were torn and splintered where she had scratched desperately at the wooden door. The black shadow lay across the roommate's body. She looked up in a daze. Her gaze followed the black shadow to its source, embedded in the window frame near the entrance of the staircase was blood-stained Hatchet outlined in the light with the gleaming rising sun. The end. And I hope you've enjoyed that story for the night, and thank you for watching.